All right, this is a video about Santo, and if you don't know who Santo is, let me just tell you that Santo was one of the greatest luchadors or professional wrestlers in the history of Mexican lucha. Long before The Rock became a movie star, Santo was a huge movie star in Mexico, throughout South America, and some of his movies even penetrated up here into America on late night cable and late night channels. I remember in the early days of cable, USA Network used to have a dubbed version of a movie called Santo versus the Vampire Women, which was retitled for some inexplicable reason Samson versus the Vampire Woman, and they called him Samson throughout the movie, and they used to show that movie actually quite a lot on late night cable on the USA channel during the 80s and 90s. You may have seen it, but what you may not realize is that Santo was such a huge phenomenon that he actually starred in more than 60 movies, I believe. That's off the top of my head, but you can Google it. And in many of these movies, the reason they have such a cult following, he's not just wrestling other wrestlers, he's actually fighting monsters like vampires and things from outer space, and he travels in time. He does everything that a superhero should do, and what's more, what adds to the charm of his movies is the fact that whenever you see him, he always has his mask on, even if he's waking up in bed in the middle of the night by an urgent phone call from the chief of police because of another vampire murder, and that actually happens during the aforementioned film, the Santo versus the Vampire Woman. He actually gets a call from the chief of the police, who calls, of course, the wrestling champion, and he wakes up in the middle of the night and he's wearing his mask. When he goes out on a date with a woman, he's wearing his mask and a nice leisure suit. So Santo was huge. He was in more than 60 movies. He was the king of the ring. He was hugely influential in his wrestling style and in everything that he did. And he was so big that there was a series of comics, more than one series. There were actually photo comics. His comics are actually not drawn. They're actually made up of photographs and then augmented with some drawing and retouching. And some people say, is this photoshopping? No, this is way before photoshopping. This is when you had to cut things with an X-Acto knife and use rubber cement to actually physically paste them together. These word balloons would be created and they'd be physically pasted on there with rubber cement before they would shoot a photostat of this on a stat camera to create the final, and they'd have to shoot it through a screen to create the dot pattern so that they could print it. It was a whole process in those days. But so I'm just going to go through this stack here quickly before you get bored. First of all, these large format comics are from Colombia. They're not from Mexico. The original comics from Mexico were in digest version. Here's an example of that. They were published by, it says Jose G. Cruz. I'm not even sure if that's the publisher or what that is. I assume it's the publisher, but we're not going to discuss that here, kayfabe. And let's go through some of these Colombian comics. And the first thing we notice is that this is not Santo wearing the mask. This is a much more bodybuilder physique than Santo had. Santo's a very athletic guy. He has an athletic physique, but he doesn't have bodybuilder physique because that bodybuilding was not his game. Wrestling was his game, and he had an athletic build, and he was a very athletic guy, as his long career in wrestling holds. But this is not him. The Colombian publisher got a different wrestler to fill in, or a different bodybuilder to fill in for these comics. Next thing we notice is that this is not the same mask that Santo actually wore in the movies. It's just like it. It's very similar. It has the teardrop-shaped eye holes. But this mask has an S on it, and Santo's original mask was just silver. So this is not the same mask, and that's probably deliberate since it's not Santo in the mask. They can't actually use the same mask because luchadors take their masks very seriously. And just before I start going through these, I just want to point out that Santo here is wearing a belt with his swim trunks, and this belt has a knife on it, and it seemingly has what to modernize looks like a cell phone or something over here. Of course it couldn't possibly be that, but I don't know what this device over here is supposed to be. A remote control to his television? No, those were much bigger in those days too. So here, let's start off with this one. This is just Santo with a beautiful wrestling babe, you know, a typical wrestling babe physique in those days. It wasn't all about the fake boob job, and a lot of the wrestling babes had big athletic physiques, and she has big athletic thighs there, and she's posing with Santo. I'm not sure who that is, but you can see most of my comics are pretty destroyed. These things are pretty much without value because of the condition, and also because nobody wants them. Let's just keep going through. Here's the Mexican or Colombian version of the Lone Ranger and Tonto, who have got the drop on Santo. If you look closely, they have guns, and they're driving some sort of peculiar Jeep, dune buggy, I don't know what vehicle, but Santo will reverse that, no doubt, and get the drop on them. If you don't know much about wrestling, you may not know that this is actually a nerve grip, which can paralyze you, which was used in professional wrestling, still is used sometimes. Long before Spock did his neck pinch, wrestlers were using this nerve hold, which attacks all the nerves that come together right up there in the shoulder, and you can see Santo totally reacting. And here's you get a better view of his belt, that he still has a knife on it. I don't know what this is, and there's something there. I don't know what it is. It's like a utility belt. Here's another wrestling cover with a standard arm bar. Shows you how the arm bar is done. This one's pretty hacked. You see I have a loose cover there. And here's another wrestling cover with Santo. We presume this is Santo. We don't see his face at all, but it's silver, and he is the silver masked man. He's kicking off one of his opponents there. This one, you know, I have these comics in plastic bags normally. I have all my plastic bags sitting off to the side. I don't know why I keep such horrible condition, beat up comics in plastic bags. Call it collector mania. This comic, which is actually not only loose in front and back cover, but I had it sort of set off to the side because there's something sticky along the edge of it here, and it was actually stuck to the inside of the bag. You can see the condition on it even has kids. The kid had marked on it, and it's yellowed. It's got a laundry list of things wrong with it. It's completely yellowed, but it's water damaged. It's got a loose cover. It's got sticky stuff on it, and yet still I keep it in a plastic bag. Go figure. Well, this is called the Wheel of Death. I don't know if you've ever seen this circus act where people ride motorcycles around in this giant ball. It's very exciting and very, very dangerous. Now, if you look at this closely, Santo's not holding on to anything. He appears to be leaping right down on top of this guy. Actually, I strongly suspect that he is not leaping on top of this guy. This could be a scene from a movie, of course, but it is probably not. It doesn't look like the real Santo. It looks like the same bodybuilder they've been using. So I believe this is a picture that is where he is, you know, there was no photoshopping, so like I said, they would take an X-Acto blade and cut out very delicately right along the outline of that and paste that right in there to create the illusion of him being this guy being leapt upon. And this is probably, you know, just standard circus publicity photo for for someone who used to do the Wheel of Death. And for some reason it says down here, Santo y Abraham de Leon. Could have been a real circus performer. The Y there, pronounced E, means and in Spanish. I don't really know Spanish, but I know a few rudimentaries like that. So, and this is 5 Colombian dollars, which is probably worth next to nothing in those days. Tells you a little about the rate of exchange. Here's some more people got the drop on Santo. He's just walking down the stairs in his condo. You know, he's got the clown picture there. These two guys got the drop on him. No time to go for the knife. If you're going to carry a big Bowie knife or a big hunting knife, you may as well carry a gun. I don't know why this plant is in here. It looks like a pretty pathetic plant. You see, this comic is sold all over South America at the time. This one is worth $7 Colombian, but it's also sold in Venezuela, Ecuador. We got a price on Peru where it's worth $20 apparently, 20 Peruvian dollars. Bolivia, it's worth 6. Venezuela, it's worth 1. So these currencies are very different, very different. But in all of them, the dollar isn't worth much. So these guys got the drop on him. Now here's Santo apparently being enslaved. He's carrying a giant rock, and these other guys are carrying giant rocks. You got cigarette-smoking middle-aged man here with a gun looking down on them. And this bastard right here with a pistol on his belt, he's whipping Santo with what appears to be a frayed rope. He apparently couldn't afford a whip, and they've got this rope which is coming untwisted and frayed, and he's whipping Santo with it. Well, dude, Santo can easily throw that rock and crush your skull and jump this guy before he has a chance to move his fat ass off that rock. So I wouldn't keep that up if I was you. I've seen Santo do it before. Here's Santo climbing out of a hole, and more people with guns are always looking for him. There's a good view of his knife. Here's Santo bursting in on a board meeting where apparently they're designing a pyramid or something. I don't know what crimes these guys are guilty of, but they sure look like a sleazy bunch, especially Mr. Sunglasses in broad daylight. I mean, it's really bright in there too, so maybe that's why he's wearing them. This guy has violated some facial hair laws, I'm sure. There's a lot of product on his hair. But yeah, they're planning something, so Santo's bursting in. Here's a completely hacked to shit comic. A couple more guys got the drop on Santo. It makes you wonder, he's coming down this extremely narrow hallway. How did this mother get behind him? Honestly. So, and here, this guy is up in the ante like crazy, because he's not only pointing a gun at Santo, he's got him tied up, and he's got a box of dynamite there. So it's like, mess with me, Santo, and I'll shoot you and blow you up before you can get out of those ropes. He's really afraid of Santo there. Here's Santo, beloved icon of children. You see the religious picture here. There's a little cherub angel there holding a ladder. Don't know what that's about. I mean, here's the Virgin Mary. Is that a stairway to heaven or a ladder to heaven? I don't know what that's about. This one is apparently holding some sort of flag. We can almost date this picture precisely by the kid's dorky blue or green corduroy pants and a dorky like early 70s shirt. So let's see if I can get a date on this. Nope, there's no indicia. The indicia is that fine print that usually runs on the inside of the first page, but oh, here it is. This is the indicia if you're not familiar with that word. So, is there a date on here? No, there is. It's completely undated. American indicia always contains a date, but this one does not. Indicia just means the stuff that they feel they have to write to satisfy the laws of the country it was published in. Here's another couple guys apparently lost in a cave or something, drawing a map on the floor or something. They got their guns out, and Santo's sneaking the F up on them. Now this, don't be raping women when Santo is right there, buddy. I mean, he's not even coming through a doorway. It's just like he's right there. And I'm not sure, this could be the side of a car. It has a very metallic look to it, so maybe this is supposed to be outside, but on the other hand, that clearly looks like a wall behind him, so I'm not sure if this is supposed to be inside or outside, and I'm not sure if the person that razored this stuff together knows either, because I think that this foreground and these people were probably cut out and then put on top of this other picture. And you know, one way you can usually tell if something's been cut with a razor is to look at the hair. Now in this case I am seeing fine hairs, so that might blow my theory that this was cut out. Or it could just be that it's extremely well done. But if you look at the hair, you can usually tell. No, I'm rethinking that theory now that I'm looking at the hair, because I do see little fine individual hairs on there, which means it probably wasn't cut with a razor. And we're seeing a nice shadow behind Santo. That's another sign that it wasn't a cutout, so that the shadow matches up. Something funny about that picture though, but definitely don't be raping women right in front of Santo. Santo loves women, clearly. I mean, and women are attracted to him. Look at this woman. I mean, she's playing coy, you know, but she didn't spend that much time on her eyebrows and eyeshadow to just give in. I mean, she's playing a little coy. Now here, they have literally cut with a razor along the hairline so that the hair doesn't cut, because she's got big hair back there, but you can't see it. The hair is like up to here, but they didn't want to be covering, you know, they didn't want to cover the S and the A, because they're already covering the N and the T. So if you cover this part too, it's kind of hard to read the title. They should have they should have cropped this whole picture down to here and had it be lower so that they wouldn't be running into this problem with the title, because it makes the head look very strange to cut it at the hairline there. Now Santo finally wised up. Thank God, Santo, you finally got a gun. This guy doesn't know what he's up against. He thinks he's up against a bodybuilder with a knife on his belt. Well, Santo's got a gun, buddy, so, and he's laying in wait for you. For once, Santo's got the drop on somebody else. Oh, these are just kind of snuck in there, these blue demons, to separate out the painted Santo covers from the photo covers. There's a photo of Blue Demon that's clearly been stuck onto a painting. He's swinging away like Tarzan. These people are shooting at him. What I find fascinating about this is that they stole from Steve Ditko the style that Steve Ditko was doing for Charlton when he was doing Blue Beetle for Charlton. This whole top half here is a complete steal from Steve Ditko, so that's pretty hilarious. Oh, and Hillary Clinton totally stole this. Can you see this? Hillary Clinton totally stole this from the publisher of Blue Demon, you know, for her campaign. It makes you wonder, you know, Hillary Clinton probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on designers to get that campaign bumper sticker logo design, and I wonder how much this publisher spent. Probably not much, especially if you put it into American dollars. Here's a really hacked Blue Demon. They got the same cover on the front and back. I guess that, if you don't have advertising to put on the back cover, I guess that saves you from having to do any work twice. This is a real composite. You got this ape guy, apparently a guy in an ape costume, and then some artist has like added in some teeth there with a brush and some drool or something. And you got Blue Demon with a stool. Then you got just a set in the corner here, a really hot babe in a swimming suit or lingerie. Same thing on the back. The condition is just as bad back here as it is in the front. I really wish I had this one in better condition because it's kind of a cool cover. Now we're getting into the good stuff. Finally, you're sitting there. If you're about to click on something else, don't go away yet, because the painted covers are the good stuff here. Here's a Phantom of the Opera type woman molester, but Santo's back there, and he is coming to kick your butt. Now, once again, the problem with these two is that Santo is barely in them. You know, here's Santo lurking in the background. Here's this guy who's not only is he menacing this hot babe with a knife, probably going to rape her. But if he's got a pointed ear there, and you can tell by the lines on his face, he's some sort of demon or person in the process of turning into a werewolf. Also, his jacket is like way too small. Look at that gap there. I mean, he's not even raising his arm very high, and the jacket's going way up. I mean, that's like a Village People jacket there. Is he trying to show midriff? I don't know what the point is there. Here's Santo with some dinosaurs. There's apparently a photograph of like a horny snake head or turtle head, or I think it's a snake head. There's some photographs. This is a confused picture, definitely. Dinosaurs. The color scheme here, I don't know what's going on. I know that this woman is apparently stealing money out of the safe. Santo's got the drop on her. He's got the big surrealistic guns there, and someone else is getting the drop on him or helping Santo get the drop on her. It's very confusing. By the way, this safe is on wheels. It's like, what's the point of having a big iron safe if you got wheels on the bottom and the thief can just wheel it up a ramp onto the back of a pickup truck and break into it in his leisure? Now, remember that this stuff is all published by Jose G. Cruz, and these Columbian comics are actually licensed by Jose G. Cruz too. It's really interesting to note that this painting is signed Jose G. Cruz. So Jose G. Cruz is apparently not just a publisher, he's also an artist. I don't know much about him, haven't Googled him. Probably learn a lot by Googling him. Here's a scene that is interesting, at least. It's signed Jose G. Cruz once again. Some sort of Satanist woman, I think a woman or a very long-haired man, saying some sort of prayer or incantation, and Santo is hooked to a wall here, and here we have this very modest woman covering her breasts, even though she's probably part of a satanic human sacrifice ritual, so I don't really know what it matters at this point. Here's one of, now we're getting into, I put some of the best covers on the bottom. I love this cover. This is a Jose G. Cruz. It's Santo, it's a mermaid, it's got this big weird skull thing here. It's got the water. It's just a very surreal, dreamlike sequence. Now this, probably my favorite cover in the whole stack. This is just, to me, and it's a Jose G. Cruz, this is just, to me, very surreal, very dreamlike. It's got it all. I mean, I would love to have this painting hanging on my wall, frankly. Oops, sorry about that. Bumped the tripod. Yeah, the fact that Santo's just turning away and his face is not at all visible just makes this all more dreamlike and surreal. I love the way the hair is just turning into brush strokes up here, and this is completely undefined. The person, it's probably just because the artist was rushing it, but it still came out great that way. The hand and the face are the only really defined things. This person that was almost materializing out of your imagination. Once again, she's got the pointed ear, which he seems to like to make. Now here, talk about surreal and dreamlike. Here's a woman with her face obscured by her own hair, standing on God knows what, some sort of, is it supposed to be some sort of Inca sacrificial table or something? I don't know. But these dogs actually have manes, like horses kind of, which seem to be blowing in the opposite direction as this woman's hair. These dog things with their bizarre faces, and this woman wearing the bizarre bikini with no face, and here's Santo down here. Talk about a dreamlike image. It's a wonderful, surreal image, another one that I would actually hang on my wall. And this may be the best of all. I mean, this is just very Frazetta-esque, very dreamlike, big booty woman with a fishnet pants and little mermaid bra. You got this big old dragon creature, which seemed to be inspired by the Ray Harryhausen movie 20 Million Miles to Earth, if you've ever seen that. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's a science fiction classic. But it's actually a spear or a stick in the monster's or alien's eye, and there's actually like bluish purple blood coming out. And we don't know what this rubble is, but there's like a fog there, and there's Santo back there. Why is his hand raised? Did he fling the spear? Probably. That's an excellent cover, but don't go away, because Santo, here's some of the original Mexican digests, and here's Santo, lover of women, and women love him. This is the kind of suit that he would wear when he's not in the ring. The person on the inside of these the original Mexican photo comics, has an athletic build much closer to the actual Santos, and I don't know, but some of these may be actual Santos, but I doubt it because the mask is different, so I don't think they ever actually use Santo. He's probably too busy making movies. These comics are a much higher quality of photo comic when you compare the two. These ones, these Columbian ones, they have a lot of this where there's not much background. You see there's some sort of magic mirror going on there. The digests have a lot of stuff drawn in by artists to make the photographs really fit into a real, fully realized world there. So you can just see from page after page, they're much better photo comics there. So this is one of the original digests. Oh, that's Juan Sin Meadow. I don't even know why that's in there. That should be in there. Here's another Santo rescuing a redheaded Zoftig babe. The babes in Santo do tend to be, in both the movies and the comics, do tend to be a little on the voluptuous side. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, this is El Hijo de Santo. That means the son of Santo. Hijo is son. And so this is actually not Santo. This is Son of Santo, and it's an actual comic book that was actually drawn. Son of Santo, interesting true fact, when the actual Santo was cremated, when he died and was cremated, Son of Santo wore the mask to his father's funeral out of respect. So that's how serious that they keep the mask and the tradition going. And I actually have a picture somewhere of Son of Santo holding the urn that his father's ashes are in with his mom next to him, and he's wearing the mask. It's actually a picture from the funeral. Oh, you can see on the back of this one, Eric Estrada, pinup. Barry Manilow, pinup. I guess these people were popular in Mexico at some point. This one I saved to last because this looks like a regular old Santo, but oh my God, this is so far beyond anything in any of these other comics. This is so unbelievable. This is like the best comic in my collection of Santos. Santo goes to hell in this comic. I mean, literally. This woman, they're taking him down to hell. Let's look at this for a minute. He's going to hell, right? And here's all the demons that he meets in hell, and Santo is in hell, and all these demons are against him. He's got all of hell against him. See, and this wonderful amount of drawing in here with the photographs. And they got him tied to a post, and they're just torturing the shit out of him. And this woman that let him down into hell, she's like the worst. And she's got a knife here. She's going to cut. They've already been torturing Santo. She's going to cut him some more. Oh my God. But then someone calls out to them, you know, and tells them to stop. And who is it? It's a priest with a crucifix. Oh my God, a crucifix. And they're freaking out. The crucifix, Christianity. Ah! She drops her knife, right? Well, the priest has got his Christianity there. Well, the woman turns into this snake, right? While he's setting Santo free, they're still in hell. The woman turns into a snake. And then Santo jumps the snake, and he's fighting the snake. He's fist fighting the snake. The snake likes to crush people. This is like a constrictor type hell snake, but Santo beats it at its own game. I mean, he literally it looks like he breaks the snake's neck. He strangles it or breaks his neck. And here it says that he's muerta, which means dead. It's dead. And the priest has got the cross still held high. Now check this out. Santo killed the woman snake. They chased off the other demons. You just got to follow this in order. I mean, the crucifix chased off most of these other demons. They all split. They went running out of there and back in this panel, right? And so they're alone. The woman turns into a snake. Santo fights the snake. He kills it. The priest is still holding this high. And then what happens is that they are transported out of hell. And not only transported out of hell, but the Virgin Mary, oh, I shook the camera, I was so excited. The Virgin Mary of Guadalupe, she's right there. The Virgin Mary, she appears to Santo. She appears to Santo. The Virgin, thank God that Santo is such a good Christian. I mean, the Virgin Mary appears to him, blinding flash of light, and they're outside of hell now. They're outside in the outside world now. And then a little bit of a cleanup here on the plot, you know, and he meets this woman who is apparently not evil woman here, and Kyra! I'm not quite following the plot point as why he's yelling that out. Maybe someone can tell me, but yeah, he's left on the outside. He's no longer in hell. He's in the outside world here. For some reason, this is a double issue, I don't know why. But for some reason, they start the next story and get into the next story here about him meeting these poor Mexican farmers who he's going to help or something. And the rest of it, and then there's like some animal people back here. They're just leading up to the rest of the story. And then there's this story in the back about apparently a black jungle. My Spanish isn't completely failing me here. And the rest of this is comic. But oh my God, it's so comic. It's so worth it just for the moment when the Virgin Mary appears to Santo. It's freaking awesome. So that's that. Before I turn this camera off, I'm going to grab hold of this. Beware the shaky cam. It's going to shake a little bit, but I just want to walk across the other side of the room here and show you something that I have hanging on my wall. I'm going to move a few chairs, clear the way, get the camera facing upright, and we're just going to walk over here, take a look at this one thing, and then turn it on. Okay, hanging on my wall here is this lobby card, and the light is kind of reflecting off it, but that's for Santo and Blue Demon, the movie, Santo and Blue Demon versus Dracula and the Wolfman. So I just thought you'd like to see that. It's a lobby card. I don't know what it's worth. Probably nothing. Anyways, more later. I hear the phone ringing.